Melody here. Today, we're going to talk about what personal responsibility means. Personal responsibility is fundamental to being a self leader or leading yourself. Why is it important to be a self leader? Well, at BTN and for myself personally, I like working with people that are pushing things forward and take ownership over themselves. What that means is, and I think the best analogy to use for it is if you're in a group project and everybody's been in that group project of there's three people in the group project, and one of them is like, okay, guys, like, how do we get this done? Like, do you have that thing? Susie, you're going to handle that part. Jim, you're going to handle that. You're going to do that. And then Susie and Jim are like, yeah, cool, Melody. Yeah, you should do that. As opposed to that group project where you have all three people showing up and be like, okay, I'm going to do this. Susie's going to handle that. Jim's going to handle that. And everybody's showing up with enthusiasm and really acting out of their power within that group project. And the outcome that you get from that, as opposed to one person kind of pushing something forward, is far better. And that's really the methodology that we think about at BTN. And as we kind of like delved into that more, it's like, okay, what changes people that makes them more of this or then more of that? And part of that is self-leadership. And self-leadership, as we define it, is effectively communicating, organizing yourself, and really embracing that Kaizen mentality of being 1% better. And one of the key parts of self-leadership is personal accountability. So what does personal accountability mean? Personal accountability means that you have the power to change your outcome. So the opposite of that is making something outside of yourself responsible for why you didn't get an outcome that you wanted. Whereas personal accountability is, I see my part that I played in this and how I could have changed this outcome. So one of the main reasons or ways that I see this as a business owner within myself as well is saying, well, if only I'd known that piece of information, if only I'd had that piece of training or somebody had given that to me, then I'd be able to create a better outcome with this. And there's not to say that there's not truth with that. There's just always two sides to every coin, but we only can control so much of the things in our lives. Really, the only thing that we have true control over is our actions, our behaviors, and our thoughts that we can put out into the world. I can't control the outside world beyond myself. So if I'm taking personal responsibility and accountability, then it's like, okay, what was within my control on this? What questions could I have asked? What could I have Googled? What training could I go forth and be able to maybe find to be able to make myself better? And that kind of sinks back into that self-leadership mindset of Kaizen, like, how can I be better from this? And really, when you're taking personal accountability, when something's not what it should be or it's not quite hitting the mark, you don't take that as a, oh gosh, I failed again. If only I had more training. If only my parents had been richer. If only I was better looking. If only my curls wouldn't be so frizzy. There's just like all of these reasons and justifications that we can give, but personal accountability really says, okay, hey, what is within my power? And it is really a mindset shift that you kind of have to like, if it doesn't come in, I wouldn't say it came naturally to me. It's something that I've had to work at for honestly years, but seeing how that comes up for you consistently of when something isn't what you want it to be, the outcome isn't what you want, then it's like, what level of personal accountability am I taking with that? I'm trying to think of another good example. So I manage a team, and sometimes the team doesn't do things the way that I want them to do, and there are a number of different reasons for why I see this happening. Sometimes I didn't give them enough context. I look at it and I'm like, oh, if you'd known this piece of information, then you would have been able to get a better outcome of that. Sometimes it is like, oh, they don't have the training for it, and sometimes it just put the wrong person in that role too. And that's my personal accountability to like why I didn't potentially get that outcome. Another good but bad one potentially is, we manage websites. So a website goes down. Well, why did the website go down? Well, somebody updated a plugin when they shouldn't have. And it's like, well, I'm not necessarily directly involved with updating those plugins, but I am responsible for the team that does update those plugins. So what part in our system and process said that, like, okay, update this without testing it or asking said question, and then working with that team member, like, how can I make this better, is really looking at that personal accountability. And one of the beautiful things about this is that you end up becoming focused on solving problems with people that take a personal accountability, whereas somebody that's trying to justify their actions, it becomes very much this you against them, like justification tit for tat of, well, I did it because of this, and if only it had this information, like, or that information. It's like, I don't care. I just want to make this better. So it's like, how can we put our heads together to make this better? And when somebody's living in that justification space, it's like you're trying to like pull them along, like, okay, like, I just want you to see how you have the power to make this better at some point in time. And they're like, no, no, there was all of these reasons for why I did what I did. And I'm like, yeah, I see that. And it's not to say that that's untrue, but I can't change those things for you. You don't have any power to change those things. What you do have power over is your actions and your perceptions and what you do. So personal accountability is stepping in and saying, okay, what could I have done to have gotten this right? What can I do in the future to get it right? How can I make it better now? And like, to me, like, that's the one thing I love about working at BTN, is that like we have a team of people like that all come to the table and are like, okay, how can we make this better? How can we make this better? And it's just fun because it's like you get to brainstorm about, okay, like, okay, how, well, we could have done this and we could have done that. And we really are rowing in that same direction for making things and improving them, because nothing frustrates me more than going to somebody and saying, hey, so this thing is broken and I found this like great easy way of making it better. You just have to do this and this. And the person's like, no, we've always done it that way, so we're not going to change it. And that's when I curl up in a ball in a corner and rock back and forth. So just in summation for this video, personal accountability is harder. And it sucks some of the time because you want to make someone else or something else responsible for your outcome. And it will feel good in the moment to justify it, but it doesn't feel good in the long term because you're just giving your power away to something or somebody else. And we also need to keep in mind that depending on what's going on in our lives, as far as like if you've got personal stuff going on or if you have a lot of change, this level of ownership of stepping into your power just might not be accessible to you at this point in time. It takes more energy. Like, it takes less energy to be in our comfort zones than to move out of our comfort zones. And seeing how we can progress and be better and change and evolve takes more energy. And if you've got a lot of pressures elsewhere in your life, maybe you've got health challenges, family challenges, or just personal life stuff that happens to all of us as human beings, it's going to be really difficult for you to really push forward in your personal ownership. So just give yourself grace as far as just knowing that, but also to kind of just keep that in mind of like, maybe just stick to what you already know and you already have a certain level of comfort in, versus like trying to like shift things too much. It's a balance. I wouldn't say it's a science, it's more of an art, but that underlying assumption of wanting to take personal accountability is what's really going to set you up for success down the road. As you're working for different employers or working for yourself, it gives you the power to change and make things better. So hopefully this has been helpful. Melodie Moore here, Business Tech Ninjas, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.